This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya.
And I'm Talia.
And we are Crimes and Consequences, a true crime podcast. Hi Talia.
Hi Tanya.
I have a new episode for everyone today.
Sweet.
So welcome back to all of our listeners.
Welcome back.
Before I get into the story this week, I would like to remind everyone, hit the follow, like, subscribe, everything.
Whatever.
Please. Whatever
button.
Whatever button, whatever, on whatever app.
Yeah, we don't care. We're not picky.
So this is a story that I've never heard of, and it was requested by AIMEE D, and she's from Belfast, Ireland.
Oh.
A tactical firearms officer for the Thames Valley Police found himself in a bizarre situation on August 19th, 1987. It was otherwise a quiet and ordinary day in the small town of Hungerford. The officer had been trained in conflict resolution, and he worked on lots of severe cases, but
Is that like domestic violence, or are we talking like...
Yeah, I think so. Maybe like hostage situations and stuff like that.
Okay.
There was a man who had barricaded himself inside the empty John O'Gaunt school, and he was asking him to surrender and talk. The man coldly replied, quote, "Hungerford must be a bit of a mess. None of this would have happened if my car would have started."
Oh.
End quote.
What the fuck does that mean?
It's so weird, right? Within minutes, the Hungerford Massacre would come to a shocking end. And now, even 36 years later, nobody knows exactly how it started.
Well, the car didn't start.
Yeah, right? Yes, car wouldn't start. Hungerford is a small market town around 5,800 people in Berkshire, England. And I'm sure I'm saying it wrong.
Oh, it's England.
I know. The town sits 60 miles west of London and is in close proximity to Salisbury and Marlborough. Hungerford is precisely what one might picture like a little English town might be. There's schools, doctors, dentists. There's open spaces like lots of land where children can play. Many residents raise chicken and livestock in their backyards, and it's considered a quiet, peaceful place to live.
Or it was.
Interestingly, outside of the Hungerford Massacre, the town had another crime connection, as it was the birthplace of a man named Robert Snooks, who was the last highwayman to be hanged for robbery in England in 1802. That's quite a gap.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
In crimes.
Yes.
It's almost like 200 years. Before I get into the actual story, it's important to go through the UK's stance and laws surrounding firearms and their ownership, because it's a lot different there than it is here in the US, okay? It becomes difficult to pinpoint the exact laws, as England and Wales have separate laws from Scotland, from Northern Ireland, the Isle of Man, and other islands in the United Kingdom. In most cases, the ownership of fully automatic, submachine, and pump-action rifles is illegal. Handguns are also prohibited for public use. Some rifles and shotguns are allowed. However, there are strict specifications that must be met. Like, I'm thinking they probably use them for hunting and things like that. According to the United Kingdom's government website, a person must apply for a license to own a firearm and demonstrate, quote, a good reason to own it.
I want to kill someone.
Yeah, exactly. That would probably not get you a license. Collectors, hobby shooters, and farmers are often granted licenses under these strict conditions. The police also conduct checks to ensure firearms are being stored correctly. So there's just a ton of technicalities that you have to go through in order to own a firearm. And in 1996, the gun laws in the United Kingdom took a drastic turn following the Dublin Massacre, where 16 children and one teacher were killed in Scotland.
Oh, man.
I know. Shooting sprees are uncommon in the United Kingdom, fortunately for them. And that's the last of your little firearm history. Okay.
All right.
August 19th, 1987, as I mentioned, it's a typical Wednesday for 33-year-old Susan Godfrey. That morning, Susan packed her two children, Hannah, who was 4, and James, who was 2, into the car, and she drove to Savernake Forest for a little picnic. Following the picnic, the family was due to attend a birthday party, and Susan wanted to make sure the children ate before they got to the party.
Oh, she took him to a picnic.
Yeah. At around noon, Susan pulled into an isolated clearing and began setting up the picnic. She got the blanket from the car's trunk. She laid it on the ground when she heard something behind her.
Oh, shit.
I know. Before she had time to react, she felt the presence of another person. It was a man, and he was armed.
Oh, jeez.
27-year-old Michael Robert Ryan had been watching Susan and her children through the trees. He was watching and he was waiting.
Creepy.
He was dressed in paramilitary camouflage.
Oh, fuck.
That's fucking terrifying, right? And army gear, as if he was on like a recon mission.
Some Rambo shit.
Right. Michael barked orders at Susan, instructing her to walk into the forest. She complied, and then she felt the barrel of a gun stuck in her back. Michael laid down a sheet on the ground before he made Susan lay on it, and then he shot her 13 times.
What?
As Susan lay dying, Michael marched out of the woods, ignoring her 2 screaming children at this point.
I was just going to ask where the kids were.
They were still strapped into their car seats. She hadn't even gotten them out of the car yet. Michael got into his car and drove out of the Savernake Forest. Susan's body was discovered sometime later after her 2 children were found roaming in the forest. And remember, they're 4 and 2.
Yeah, so they somehow unbuckled.
Yeah, I'm sure Hannah, who was 4, she probably
figured it out.
Yeah, she did. She unbuckled her and her brother's belts before they went looking for their mom.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The Thames Valley police were called to the scene. Spent shell casings were littering the ground on which Susan Godfrey lay. Little did the Thames Valley police know that this was just the start of one of the UK's worst mass shootings.
I've never heard of this.
Me either. So I'll tell you a little bit about Michael Robert Ryan.
Oh, please tell me about this asshole.
Right? He was born May 18th, 1960, to his parents, Alfred and Dorothy. And he was born in Hungerford. The Ryan family dynamic differed somewhat from those around them. And Michael's parents, because they were older when he was born, Alfred had a different view of family life and left his wife, Dorothy, to raise Michael. Alfred instead focused on work. And I don't mean he left the family. I mean, like, it was her major responsibility to raise him.
Yeah, she's a housewife.
She's a housewife, homemaker, and he focused on work and putting food on the table. From the very beginning, Michael was different. He was far more sullen than other children, and he didn't mix well with others. He's probably a strange little kid from the start. The boys in elementary school, they all get together and they play games, and, they play football, and they do all those kinds of things that you normally think little boys do. But Michael preferred to sit alone and just, fantasize in his mind. He was more... Okay. He was never a high achiever, and he coasted through school. He was apparently bullied, which only made him more introverted. Those who grew up around him stated he was a mommy's boy. And his parents, especially his mom, gave him whatever he wanted.
So he's spoiled.
Yes. He was overindulgent, and he didn't even know the meaning of the word no. He just got everything he wanted. As Michael grew older, he became interested in the army and military and that kind of shit. Most boys his age also had an interest in army and weapons, but Michael took it to the extreme. He became obsessed with guns and ammunition, subscribing to magazines and reading as many books as possible. He also began morphing himself into a little paramilitary soldier. Visiting the local army surplus stores and picking out camouflage clothes and...
Okay.
That was a fashion statement. Right?
All right. It's a fantasy he's got.
Yes, exactly. In one shocking incident, a childhood friend recalled the day Michael's interest took a turn for the bizarre. At the bottom of the Ryans' property, the family had a barn where they kept animals and grew crops. One afternoon, Michael and his friends ventured into the barn where Michael began blasting the door with his air rifle. Yeah. Something in his mind just changed, and days later, he became a member of the local gun club where he shot pistols and rifles. Michael was reportedly a good shooter and often won awards and competitions. Others at the gun club were friendly with him, but Michael didn't know really how to reciprocate. He continued visiting the gun club throughout his teenage years and into adulthood. His interest in survivalism grew.
Oh, boy.
I know. And he bought himself a flak jacket.
What's that?
Like a bulletproof jacket.
Everybody needs one of
Right?
those.
You never know, Leah. I mean, here in America, it's probably a smart purchase, but I mean, you get shot going to the grocery store, but I think in the United Kingdom it's a little different. Tensions in Michael's mind were increasing, as was his gun collection, and something's about to crack.
Michael's about to crack.
Yeah. After leaving Savernake Forest and his first victim, Susan, behind, Michael drove his Vauxhall Astra to the Golden Arrow Service, which is a gas station in Froxfield, which is really close to Hungerford. According to the gas station owners, Michael was a regular customer who would fill up with small amounts of gasoline, pay, and then leave without really just engaging much conversation. I don't know.
Just did his business and got out.
Yeah. But August 19th was different. Mr. Dean, the server on duty that day, I think they must have like people who pump your gas.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. She noticed that Michael looked distracted and dazed. She saw him standing at the pump, filling his car with more and more gas than usual. At one point, gas almost spilled out of the tank as Michael was in such a daze. Like he just wasn't paying attention.
Zoned out.
Yeah, zoned out, just pumping his gas. After filling his car, Michael filled a gasoline can.
Oh, boy.
And he waited for the only customer to leave. Right? Slowly, he walked toward the booth where Ms. Dean was sitting. She believed he was there to pay for the gasoline, but instantly her life changed.
Oh, shit.
I know. Michael withdrew his gun and shot once into the booth. Incredibly, she was able to duck out of the way of the bullet.
Good for her.
Right? How terrifying, though. But undeterred, Michael walked to the side of the booth where there was a larger opening, and he pointed the barrel directly at her head. And I don't know if it was luck or God was on her side, but the gun either jammed or ran out of bullets, and she survived.
Wow.
Realizing what happened, Michael ran to his car, merged on to the A4, which is heading toward Hungerford, so it's a highway. She called the police, who were then beginning to put the incidents together. Like, oh, this is the same weirdo. 15 minutes later, Michael arrived at Southview, the street where he had grown up. The home that he grew up on Southview held many happy memories for the Ryan family. And at this point in 1987, it was just Michael and his mother living there because his father had passed away a few years earlier. He went into his childhood home and grabbed his arsenal of weapons. He took a 9mm handgun. It was a Beretta semi-automatic pistol, an M1 carbine assault rifle, an AK-47 rifle.
Oh, shit.
And he took hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Dorothy Ryan, Michael's mom, she wasn't home at the time, so...
Thank God.
Yeah, well, Michael was left to do whatever he wanted.
Oh,
and
yeah.
no one there to stop him.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know if his mother would have stopped him, if she would have noticed, if he
Been
would have just shot her.
killed.
Right, you don't know. After stocking up, Michael headed to his car with a full tank of gas and tried to start it, but it kind of sputtered. The sputtering continued.
Oh, shit. This is where the car doesn't start.
Right? Like, this just pissed him off. His car's just sputtering, and it was his only possible escape from what he's created so far. I mean, he's already left one person dead.
Yeah, but he was going to do more in the car. He's going to drive somewhere and do some shit.
He stocked up on all this.
Right. I mean, he wasn't just
weapons.
Going to McDonald's, get a burger. No.
That's true.
He needed his car to go kill more.
To kill more. So he's all pissed. So he shoots his car 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
In a fit of rage. His fury had reached its crescendo. He grabbed the gasoline can, headed into his childhood home, and just doused everything in sight. Seconds later, the house is now engulfed in flames.
Well, that's not going to get attention. I mean, hello.
Yeah, well, the shots...
And he's got no vehicle to take off.
The shots and the fire certainly attracted the attention of the residents on the street. And just a few doors down from Michael's home, Ronald Mason was outside fixing his fence. Michael Ryan walked toward Ronald as if he was going to strike up a conversation, but instead,
He shot him.
Yeah, he pulled out one of his many guns and shot Ronald 6 times.
Oh, man.
He then turned to Ronald's wife, Sheila, who was outside as well. He shot her once, and Sheila and Ronald died at the scene. Michael continued walking along the road, almost as if he hadn't just shot 2 more people, dead in broad daylight.
And burned his fucking house down.
Yeah, and burned his fucking house down. And before I tell you more, we're going to take a break. The next house he came across was that of Marjorie Jackson. The time was close to 1 p.m., and the commotion had attracted attention along Southview Street.
So this isn't far from his house, though, right?
Right, yeah. I think this is the next house after Ronald Mason.
Oh, jeez.
Marjorie watched from the window as Michael shot indiscriminately. Then he turned to her. He stormed up the driveway, shooting at her through the window. A bullet hit Marjorie in the back, forcing her to the ground. I know. She spent the rest of the afternoon keeping low to the ground while tending to her wound. It would take several hours for emergency services to be allowed down that street.
Oh, my gosh. They barricaded, like, the street?
Yeah. And by that point, it was too late for some of these residents. Michael continued the rampage, making his way down the street. Children and teenagers were playing on the roads when they heard instructions to go inside, but the instructions weren't from their parents, but instead from Michael himself. Throughout his rampage, he made it clear that he had no intention of shooting children, at least for the most part.
Well, why didn't they come down the street and try to get him?
I know, right?
I don't understand.
I don't understand. He didn't want to hurt children. I mean, he did leave Susan's children.
That's so kind of him.
I know, alive. I know, so kind. 14-year-old Lisa Mildenhall would be Michael's next victim.
She's still a child.
I know.
I'm just pointing that out.
Exactly. Like the other children, she had scrambled to the front door of her home, praying that the knob would slide open with ease and lead her to safety. But just as she reached the front door, Michael shot her in the legs and stomach. She survived her injuries, and she did make it inside her home to safety. Sylvia Pascoe, who lived next door, recalled hearing a frightened Lisa running into her home before she fell silent and collapsed. Southview Street has a path to what is called Hungerford Common, and it's a large field with some brush and trees. And after walking their dog in the commons, 51-year-old Kenneth Clements and his family walked on to Southview Street. Unbeknownst to Kenneth and his family, they stepped in the middle of this shit storm, right?
Oh, man.
Michael shot Kenneth point blank, but allowed the rest of the family to flee. At 12:58 p.m., Police Constable, PC, Roger Brereton, received orders to drive onto Southview Street and secure the scene. PC Brereton had worked as a traffic officer in Newbury for the Thames Valley Police.
No, there's a little bit more than traffic going on here.
As he pulled his car onto Southview, he was met with a hail of bullets, 23 to be exact, and 4 of which hit him, killing him instantly.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, this is fucked. The Thames Valley Police arrived at the scene. More officers arrived shortly after and found one of their own dead. Roadblocks had been set up, but angry residents were eager to get through. At this point, the Thames Valley Police didn't disclose why the roads were closed or even what was going on. So people are like, why can't they get down the street?
What the fuck is happening
What's
here?
going on? While the rest of Hungerford went about their lives, Michael was committing one of the worst spree killings in British history, and many residents were unaware of even what was unfolding in their little town. I told you there's only like 5,800 people in this town. Mother and daughter, Linda and Allison Chapman, were driving along Southview around 1 o'clock when they saw a bright flash. They had been shot at.
I thought it was like barricaded or blocked off. How'd they get driving?
I don't know. The police, showed up a little after that because PC Brereton was there about 1 o'clock too. They had been shot at. They would join the ever-growing list of Hungerford victims. Incredibly, both mother and daughter survived, although, according to the BBC, Allison was left permanently disabled after a bullet penetrated her spine. I know. Michael seemed not to care whether he left living victims, and he didn't return to ensure that they were dead. Like
he just want to cause damage.
Yeah, he just shot it, whatever, and if you died or you survived,
ballistic,
right? I mean, once he fired at them, he just moved on to the next victim. People who knew Michael all of their lives had suddenly been faced with a gun to their heads. Many tried to talk him down or plead for their lives, but their pleas went unanswered.
What the fuck?
I know. Michael was despondent and almost in another world entirely. Nothing mattered to him, and he carried on moving like a robot or a soldier following orders.
Well, one thing mattered to him.
Yeah.
Kill.
Shooting as many people as he possibly could. George White and Ivor Jackson, who was Marjorie Jackson's husband, were turning onto Southview in their Toyota Crown when they too were shot. George died instantly, but Ivor survived. Ivor told the BBC he played dead in an attempt to save himself. He waited, holding his breath and closing his eyes until he heard the footsteps, gradually fade. That's gotta be terrifying. I've often thought, how could I play dead?
I don't know. I feel like I'd be a hot mess.
Right? I think I'd be in such a panic. I don't think I could slow down my breathing at all.
No,
right?
I wouldn't think straight.
Right. I think
I'd be shot again.
Oh, for sure. I'd be dead in any type of situation like that.
I'd be like, fuck you, fuck off.
I know, I'm for sure.
I don't do well in those kind of situations. I'm guessing.
I can't calm myself down.
No.
I'm thinking. I mean, I've never been in the situation, but 84-year-old Abdul Khan, he was shot 3 times by Michael as he mowed his grass.
He's out there mowing his fucking grass.
I know.
Hello, there's a house burning, gunshots. What's going on, buddy?
I know, these people have giant yards or something.
I don't know, but there's a fucking house burning.
I know. Ivor remembers opening his eyes and seeing Dorothy Ryan, Michael's mom. After spending the day at the market, she had just returned to Southview Street.
Oh, shit.
In the middle of all this.
Oh, shit.
Can you imagine?
Oh, man. I'd beat his ass. Get over here, Michael.
She got there. She was like, what the hell is going on?
You are grounded.
Her house is burning down, right? I mean...
People dead. Yeah.
Bodies were all over the streets. The air was filled with just people screaming, panicking, groaning.
Still wondering why the police aren't doing something.
I know.
But maybe it all happened in a few minutes.
I don't know. Dorothy ran toward her son. She was going to try and comfort and coddle him as she had done throughout his life.
Don't tell me.
Michael, though, he wasn't really interested in that at this point.
No, what? He didn't want cuddling now?
No, he didn't want cuddling at this moment.
Okay.
Dorothy was the only woman and possibly the only person Michael had really ever loved. And if somebody could talk him down, it was her. But when she reached her arms out for a hug, she was shot.
I knew you were going to say that.
Point blank.
Stop it.
In the head.
Oh, fuck.
And he watched her die.
What the motherfuck?
Right?
Mm.
The Thames Valley Police had set up a command post on Southview and had instructed Michael to lay down his weapons and surrender.
Oh, okay.
Michael had also shot several other residents who thankfully survived. At around 1:20 p.m., Michael left Southview, taking a meandering path that led to the Hungerford Common. Along the path lay the War Memorial Recreation Grounds, where Michael found his next victim, who was 26-year-old Francis Butler, who was walking his dog. Francis was shot several times and left to die in the gravel. Michael took off as if he was on a peaceful summer walk. I mean, he wasn't running anywhere. He wasn't in a panic.
He was just taking a stroll with his fucking guns.
Yeah, with his fucking guns. Minutes later, 30-year-old Marcus Bernard was shot through his car window. According to the Crime and Investigation Network, Marcus was driving to a nearby hospital to visit his wife, who had just given birth to their son.
Oh, no.
Michael watched as Marcus slumped over the steering wheel. For a brief moment, he had clarity. The AK-47 killing machine he had used to kill Marcus, Francis, and others minutes earlier now represented something horrific to him. In a bizarre ritual, Michael laid the gun on the ground and he stared at it, perhaps hoping that this was all just some weird dream he was in.
What the hell is this?
Within seconds, though, the murderous rampage once again started.
Oh, so he had just a very brief moment.
He had a brief moment. He laid down the gun. He kind of was like, what the fuck? And then he's like...
I made a mistake.
And he's like, nope.
No, let's keep going.
He picked up the AK-47, threw the strap over his shoulder, and he carried on walking down the path in the Commons.
It's like, fuck it.
Off-duty police officer Trevor Wainwright knew what was happening in Southview. His wife had called him moments earlier in a panic after hearing a bullet spray over their back garden. PC Wainwright of the Thames Valley Police had vetted Michael a year prior in 1986 when he applied for an upgrade to his firearms license.
Well, how much of an upgrade do you need to get an AK-47?
Well, I think you probably needed a lot. Like you
is
could get
what,
a pistol.
Missile launcher or something?
PC Wainwright saw that Michael had no criminal history and there were no concerns for his mental well-being, so he granted the upgrade, allowing Michael to own high-powered weapons, the very weapons he was using in this rampage. After leaving the Common, Michael arrived at Priory Avenue, which leads to Terrence Hill. Walking along Priory Avenue, he came side by side with a car. Inside sat Douglas and Kathleen Wainwright, the parents of PC Trevor Wainwright, the off-duty police officer I just told you about. Kathleen and Douglas had recently sold their house in Kent, which was about 100 miles away, and they came to Hungerford to visit their son. Michael shot Douglas twice, once in the head and once in the chest. Kathleen did survive. She crawled out the passenger seat and crouched outside. Michael reloaded his gun but walked away, allowing her to live. Eric Vardy and Stephen Ball were driving up Terrence Hill, unaware of what was going on, that this rampage was happening. Eric was shot as he drove. He died sometimes later due to his injuries. The Thames Valley Police were desperately trying to lock down the area, but the roads and avenues snaked into one another, giving him many escape routes.
Yeah, and there's pathways and stuff to...
And I'm thinking they probably aren't prepared for this type of thing.
It's a tiny town.
Yeah, it's a tiny town. I don't think police are usually prepared for some crazy-ass wild mass shooting. So Wednesday was market day in Hungerford, and turning left onto Priory Avenue took you straight to the market square.
Oh, shit.
I'm picturing like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Michael was confronted with a choice. Is he going to go left toward this market square, or is he going to go right? Left, like I said, would take him to this busy market.
No, I would go, if I was him, left.
Hell yeah, you're going to shoot as many people. But he chose to veer to the right, making his way along Terrence Hill. After a short walk, he found another victim, 22-year-old Sandra Hill, who he shot once in the chest. Even though Michael had done a lot of walking, he really didn't cover all that much ground. By 2 p.m., his adrenaline rush was beginning to slow down.
So what has this been, like an hour?
Yeah, this has been like an hour, maybe a little more.
And let's not forget Susan.
Right. Oh, yeah, Susan, because I think that was probably around noon. Yeah, so probably this has been 2 hours, you're right. His adrenaline's coming down, but shortly after he shot Sandra in the chest, he turned his gun on Victor Gibbs and his wife, who used a wheelchair.
What?
Her name was Myrtle.
Oh, man.
I know.
Myrtle in the wheelchair?
And Victor died instantly, and she died later. Shortly before 2 p.m., Michael claimed his 16th fatality.
16th fatality?
34-year-old Ian Lale, I hope I'm saying that right. He was hit by a bullet to the neck. Ian had brought his family along with him to Hungerford for a shopping trip, and he died 2 days later, on August 21st, at the hospital. By this point, Michael's, like I said, he's coming down from the adrenaline. His buzz is starting to wear off.
Maybe he's go like the bathroom and getting hungry. I mean, at some point, hours into this shit, you're a human. I'm just saying.
I know.
Just slow it down.
He was beginning to come.
Guns are heavy too,
right?
By the way.
Oh yeah, they are.
Carrying that around for hours.
I've never had an AK-47.
I don't know, but
a handgun's heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it is. I don't know.
Sorry, sidetracked. Just saying.
He was beginning to come to terms with what he'd done. Had he really killed his mother?
Yeah.
The only person he had ever loved in cold blood.
Yeah, he fucking did.
Yeah, he fucking did. At nearly 2 p.m., Thames Valley Police and Tactical Response Units received word that Michael had just been spotted walking into John O'Gaunt Secondary High School.
Please tell me school's not in session.
No, it is empty because it's August.
Okay.
And this is where we started the story.
Oh, yeah.
Michael had attended John O'Gaunt as a teenager some 12 years earlier, and it was a place where he had faced the most
bullying.
Being ostracized.
All right.
Luckily for the police, like you mentioned, the school was shut down for the past 6 weeks. It's summertime, and students were not due back until the first week of September. Every entrance and exit to the school was closed off. So now Michael's barricaded himself inside, so now it's just a waiting game.
How'd he get in if everything's closed?
Oh, he had a gun, girl. He probably blew off a block or something.
Oh, I don't... Okay.
I mean, I've seen movies.
I don't know.
Michael still had 3 weapons, and he still had plenty of ammunition. Even the tactical response unit, each of those officers only had 1 weapon each. I know he's only one person, but...
Well, at least he's contained.
Yeah, exactly. Slowly but surely, the police began to close a circle around the school, putting as much pressure as they could on Michael. He had an advantage, though, as he was familiar with the school's layout.
Yeah, but you can only be in that school for so long. Eat their chocolate pudding in the cafeteria.
Do they even have chocolate pudding?
I don't know, but you get my point. Some points
summer?
You gotta leave.
Yeah. But for hours, the police and Michael were in a standoff. And around 5:30 p.m. is when the Thames Valley Police finally pinpointed exactly where he was in the school.
Well, this is a lot of hours now.
Yeah, this is all fucking day, dude. Michael knew there was no way out of this. He's just like,
Yeah, there is no way.
No, you're fucked, basically.
Fucked.
Officers held their breath as they saw an arm reach out the window. Snipers and firearms officers were ready to shoot at a moment's notice, but Michael was hanging onto a white cloth out the window.
Oh, please.
Yeah, letting the officers know he wanted to surrender or at least talk. A line of communication between Michael and a crisis responder was created. And one of the first things Michael asked for was his mother okay?
No, buddy.
No, dude.
You shot her point blank in the head.
Right. Like, what do you think? So why he asked, they're not sure exactly. He knew he had shot her, like you said, point blank. The crisis responder and Michael talked, and it seemed Michael may have been opening to surrendering. He asked the officer if his dog had been found safe and well following the house fire.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And whether they had discovered his M1 carbine. Michael asked about it, not for himself, but because he was worried children may use it and hurt themselves or someone else.
Did he drop it or something?
I think so. It makes no sense. But Michael wouldn't budge, no matter how hard the negotiator tried to get him to come out of the school.
Then just sit it out.
Michael threw his AK-47 out the window, leaving him now with just the Beretta 9mm pistol. By 6:45 p.m., communications had broken down. And that's when he told the officer, Hungerford must be a bit of a mess. None of this would have happened if my car would have started.
What? That's just...
Right?
I don't know what to say about that. No, Michael, none of this would have happened if you weren't fucking nuts.
Exactly. And then he said, it's funny. I've killed all those people, but I don't have the guts to blow my own brains out.
Well, why don't you put your head out the window? And
we'll do it for you.
We'll help you out, Michael.
For several minutes, Michael stayed silent, pondering his next move. Officers prepared to move in or accept his surrender. At 6:52 p.m., a solitary shot rang out from the classroom. Michael Robert Ryan was dead.
So he did it.
He finally mustered up the courage. After hearing the shot, officers knew the operation was over. In just 6 hours, Michael Ryan had killed 16 people and wounded 15 others.
Damn.
The small town of Hungerford had been plunged into chaos, all at the hands of one man. Richard Auger of the Tactical Firearms Response Unit was there when Michael took his own life. He told the media that, at that point, he felt sorry for Michael, who seemed, quote, pathetic and lost, end quote. The Hungerford Massacre would remain the UK's largest spree killing until 1996, when a lone gunman opened fire at Dublin School in Dublin, Scotland, like I mentioned earlier. The Hungerford Massacre sparked the Hungerford Report, which explored how Michael had obtained these weapons and what could be done to prevent further tragedies. Following the report, the Firearms Act of 1988 was passed, which banned the purchase and ownership of semi-automatic rifles and restricted pump-action shotguns from having no more than 3 cartridges. One victim's family remarked that while they're glad he's dead and not living in prison at the taxpayers' expenses, they also feel robbed of an explanation. Michael didn't leave a note or a
Well, how do
manifesto.
you explain that anyway? I mean, he already said it. His car wasn't working. He was getting upset.
Right. Is it that? He just snapped one day.
Yeah. Is there any logical explanation that someone could give to do this?
I know. Is there any, like, the shootings that we know about that happen?
No, there's no. It's just
people
rage
it's just rage, right? Criminal psychologist Professor Jackson concluded that Michael Ryan's rampage was not planned, but he hasn't been able to pinpoint the exact cause. And I don't think psychologists will ever be able to.
Well, yeah, they didn't even examine him.
Michael had no criminal history, and he was legally allowed to obtain the firearms he did. Since Dublin in 1996, there have been very few spree killings with a gun in the United Kingdom. And that's the end of my story. And I'm not even going to go into my own beliefs about these stupid fucking mass shootings that we have all the time.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Because I would just...
I'm not
going to get on my soapbox.
Yeah, please don't. I don't want to hear it. No offense.
Thanks to Leah.
I've already heard it.
I had a cousin who was in the Las Vegas shooting
a
few years ago. I mean, she obviously survived, but she was with her boyfriend, like, for the concert, and I'm sure she's scarred to this day for it. Thank God she came out alive.
Wow.
Well, before I get into the rest of the business, there's shout-outs.
Let's do some shout-outs. We haven't done them in a long time, and I apologize.
We have Miriam M. I think I'm saying that right. Her name is spelled Mirjam.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's Miriam. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. L.J., Amanda P., Laura S., Shannon S., Angela B., Haley N., Amelia M., Jennifer H., Kate Ella, Hector A. This person didn't leave their name, but this is part of their email, is Varguel.
Okay.
Jessica H., Wyatt D., Ryan J., Tracy C., Joyce R., Jess G., Candace P., Jennifer P., Christina D., Shaylee C., Bundy K., Victoria P., Garrett S., and Ness, who is from Belgium.
Yes.
And I asked how to pronounce it. So it's Ness.
Ness.
And I think I did that right. So thank you, everyone. Woo! Thank you. Our newest Patreon members. And if you're wondering what the hell that was all about.
Yeah, what was that
Maybe
about?
This is your first episode that you've ever listened to. Maybe. We have an episode that we release a week for free that you're all listening to now, but we also have an episode that we release once a week for our Patreon and Apple subscribers. For a very low amount per month.
Very low.
You can get all of these episodes.
And there's just so many.
Yeah, I mean, we're on episode like 192 or something on our regular ones, so there's...
Equal amount.
Yeah, there's almost equal amount. You can go to patreon.com/TNT, like dynamite, TNT Crimes.
TNT.
Dynamite. We're not going to go into it because it's copyright.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be sued by AC/DC.
You know what? We would get a lot of attention if AC/DC sued us.
That's true, we
would.
TNT.
I'm dynamite. Sue us.
Yeah, please.
And they get ad-free.
Yes, ad-free and early release. And you can also subscribe if you listen on the Apple Podcast app. They are the same episodes. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can.
We can't give you a shout out because they don't give us your name. Yeah. Because it's Apple.
Exactly. Because Apple's big on privacy. So if you do want to shout out, just email us at contact@crimesandconsequences.
Good job.
.com. I almost forgot our email.
contact@crimesandconsequences.com.
If you want to go to our website, check it out, crimesandconsequences.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Hardcore True Crime. And we have merch. If you're interested in that, go to our website.
Buy some stuff.
Get a t-shirt. Show your support. Yeah. I have about 15 of them.
I don't even know. I have a whole drawer.
Exactly.
Whole drawer. Says, I hate people.
Oh, I had that on earlier.
What the fuck, Tanya?
I have that one.
I'm dead inside.
Yep. Oh, I have that one with the little skeleton. That one's cute. Mm-hmm. I have Don't Kill Each Other.
Don't Kill Each Other.
A lot of them.
A good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. It's classic.
Yeah.
Just
don't.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't kill each other.
No.
Anyway, until our next episode.
Don't kill each other.
Exactly. Bye.
Bye.